my dad just discharged from the hospital on Sunday, okay, the day after. And he's basically bedridden now, and he's on tube. He's using a tube for the nose, using a tube by his nose, right? And he's quite disabled currently, right? So my younger brother is a medical doctor at KKM Hospital. So he asked me to spread words. You are still young with no medical history that requires you to take medications. But maybe for your brothers and sisters, or maybe for your parents. So my younger brother did remind us if you were diagnosed with any disease, diabetic, high blood pressure, heart problems, okay, and you are prescribed with certain medications. So he told us to take the medication, to not skip medications, okay, if not in a prolonged term effect. Okay, so this is what happened to my dad. Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
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 So I'll be sharing my screen now. Okay, so last week I asked you to watch the recording video, right, of the other group. Okay, I hope you have watched that, chapter 4. So today I'll be basically finishing chapter 4 before we go into chapter 5. Right? And so what we are going to discuss in chapter 4 is basically what I'm suffering currently. And so this is due to long-term effects of sports injuries, okay, I assume, okay, and also due to recent 2 or 3 weeks previously where I kind of moved into a new house, and maybe because during the lockdown, none of our siblings could help us out from our previous house to the new house. So everything was done by me and my wife, and also my kids. Right. So maybe lack of rest also contributed to this back pain. Okay. So can you see the screen?
Yes.
No, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Right. So what we are going to talk about is on back issues, okay, basically from material handling, right, and why, if you look at what we have gone through in the previous chapter of chapter 4, or since chapter 2 and 3, right, we talk about MSDs, okay, the most common MSDs that do affect humans or workers. I think it's basically a back, because our back is the main main support of the body system. Okay, so when we talk about material handling, okay, so the most common injuries okay, that is related to material handling is basically due to over-exertion, okay, of your back, okay, that causes your back to be aching, okay, and also injured. So this is spinal column. I think we've gone through this before. We have these 3 vertebra sections: the cervical, the thoracic, and also the lumbar. So this is where we do have some backache at our lumbar, okay, our thoracic pinggang. And this is where we do have the lumbar bones from L1 to L5. Right? So this is where I'm currently, yesterday I went to see the specialist, and he said there's some muscle spasm, and maybe maybe because when I cough or when I sneeze, I will feel the pain at the back. And there is this symptom of this confirm anything on your back basically into an MRI. So maybe tomorrow or tonight, I'll be doing the MRI. After doing after this class, basically. So the hospital basically asked me to come at 3 o'clock. But I said to them I have class 2 to 4. So I'll be coming after 4 o'clock, maybe at 5 o'clock after this. So this is the basic structure. I think we've gone through this before, right? And if you look into back injuries, so these are acute effects, direct or straight effects. If you are involved with these acute effects, so this is where your back could be injured, and besides that, we also have chronic or long-term effect, your back pain or pain due to repetitive or frequency of works or awkward postures, overexertion, carrying heavy too heavy loads. So this is where there's short-term effect and also long-term effect, right? So if you look at the statistics, out more than 3 months, only 60% chance of returning, and after 1 year, only 5%. So this is where if you do have back pain, more than 6 months, the chances for you to return to work is basically 50%, right? But if you have back pain for 1 year, so the chances is 55%. So this is where Malaysia is always receiving claims from those who mencarum with KSO. They complain about backache, back pain due to WMSD, work-related musculoskeletal disorders, and due to their working posture, due to their design or workstation, and also due to their tasks that they do, whereby they do it every day, right? Repetitively, and the loading is cyclic loading, so this is where they get that pain about. So this is what we have gone through before, material handling, right? So when we talk about material handling, we are always talking about things that you do by yourself, with your own physical strength, with your own tulang prakrat, without the assistance of any mechanical handling devices like conveyor, forklift trucks, trolleys and whatnot. Excuse me, I feel that I want to sneeze, so I need to tahan jap dan sakit bakal. Handling of materials, there's lots of risk factors that may contribute to back injuries. So among others, the objects, the location, the hand coupling, where to hold it, and also environmental factors. Besides that, there's also risk factors related to personal characteristics and also behavior in terms of gender, age, right? The older you are, the bones are becoming much more or less strong, that's why you can see all these advertisements of lean, osteoporosis and whatnot. So this is where due to age factor, right? And also if you look into if you are not tak biasa, not doing, you don't train, you don't exercise a lot, and then let's say you haven't played football for quite some time, and then suddenly your friend asks you, invite you to play futsal or whatnot, so you directly played without any warm-up, without instruction or whatnot, so this is where you could injure yourself, and in terms are related to backache, or back pain, so these are some of the risk factors that you can see. Right. So what are the precautions that you could apply with the resistance of back pain, okay, in manual handling. So these were some of the examples are presented here. Okay, try to avoid extreme range of motion when lifting. Okay, redesign the workstation. So in the coming chapter, we are going to look into workstation design. Okay, how could we design a workstation, okay, so that it is comfortable, safe, okay, and for the workers, whereby it could maximize the performance and also minimize hazard, basically, right? And when we talk about material handling, okay, the material or the object or the box that you want to handle manually, okay, somehow it's better to have some handles or cut out, okay, for you to grasp or grip, okay, that particular object, okay, firmly, so that when you carry it, it is much more firm, right? So this is where designing of the job itself, designing of the task itself is very, very important. So after this, we are going to look into the NIOSH lifting equation, whereby via this equation, okay, you can somehow design your workstation to be much more better. All right. So besides, these are some of the job designs that you could apply, okay, in terms of weight, in terms of using other types of methods, okay, to handle the objects. Okay, and then upon others, okay, giving trainings to the workers, okay, actual the best SOP, standard operating procedure to do a certain task, okay, is very important, okay, so that you could minimize all these risk factors, okay, and also to avoid any injuries towards your workers. Okay, just a com check here. Can anyone follow me?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, right. So basically, I think the notes are very, very straightforward. Things are maybe common sense for you guys, and also things that are not that heavy to digest. So even though it is like that, okay, so for your test, some of you did not answer the question accordingly, right? Maybe I assume that when you read the question, you just Google the answers without relating to the question what it is asking, right? So make sure in the second test, right? I haven't got the date yet, but it will cover chapter 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, the 4 chapters. So you need to answer the questions accurately. Okay, it may be correct, but it is not accurate, right? So please do always relate your answers with the questions being asked. Right, so this is the NIOSH lifting equation. So this equation is very, very important. Okay, it is being developed by the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. Okay, and it was basically introduced in 1981, if I'm not mistaken. Right, and then in 1991, the NIOSH lifting equation was enhanced. Okay, was what call that? Was amended. Okay, whereby there were some 2 parameters that was included, okay, in the 1991 version. Right. So what is basically this NIOSH lifting equation? Yes, it is being developed in 1981. So what is it all about, the NIOSH lifting equation, right? So if you look into this is one of the notes that I got from the internet, okay, by Ergo Plus. So basically, this NIOSH lifting equation, okay, it is a tool to quantify, to measure, okay, the risk when you are lifting or lowering something, okay, at the workplace, right? So basically, the NIOSH lifting equation, we are trying to calculate what is the recommended weight limit, okay, RWL, and by calculating the RWL, okay, and then you can eventually calculate what is the lifting index, the ratio between the actual load that you are lifting in that particular task with the recommended weight limit that you should lift or lower in that particular task. Okay, from there you could get the lifting index, okay, whereby it must be below than 1, If it is below than 1, if it is more than 1, so basically you are at risk. Okay, the bigger the lifting index, okay, the higher the risk you are in. So in this NIOSH lifting equation, okay, basically we are trying to answer these two questions. Okay, whether is the weight too heavy for the task? Okay, is it appropriate? Is this weight appropriate? Okay, and the second one is how significant is the risk? How severe would be the risk if you do not, okay, if you are doing a job, okay, and you compare with the RWL, this is where you can get the ratio, okay, whether it is much more riskier or it is acceptable, right? It is the weight being lifted or being lowered is acceptable based on certain multipliers and also parameters. Right. So in this lifting equation, yeah, okay, if you are within these criteria, so you are not you cannot use the NIOSH lifting equation, okay, to calculate the risk, okay, to calculate what is the recommended weight limit. Okay, if for example, if you are only using one hand, okay, the work duration is more than 8 hours, okay, you are in a restricted workspace, right? So you do have other types of assistive devices to lift or lower, like wheelbarrows or shovels and whatnot. Right? So basically, if you are within these characteristics, okay, within these criteria, so you are disqualified or you cannot use the NIOSH lifting equation to calculate the RWL. Okay, any questions so far?
No, Doctor.
Okay, so we only have 25. Okay, 24. There's another 6 of you, not here. So please do help to contact your friends, okay, your group members to come and join us in our lecture session today. Okay, so in the RWL, basically the RWL consists of an equation, okay, recommended weight limit increase consists of an equation where there is a load constant. Okay, the load constant is basically there's two units being used, whether it is imperial unit or in the metric unit. So if it is in the imperial unit using pound, the load constant, okay, I can say the maximum load that is acceptable for a worker to lift or lower an object is basically 51 pounds or 23 kilograms. Okay, and these are the multipliers. All right. So anyone here that frequently travels abroad? Anyone? Anyone here that frequently travel abroad before the pandemic?
No.
Some of my students that likes to visit other countries, okay, during the mid-semester break. Okay, they somehow menabung lah, okay, every semester, and when they have enough fun, they will go abroad to see other countries and learn their culture and whatnot. Right. So if you are on board an airplane, what is the maximum luggage weight? Okay, normally being suggested or being recommended. Anyone? Any Sabah Sarawak here? Sabah Sarawakians here?
15 kilo.
15 kilos, right? If you're on an Asia, 15 kilos, right? So if you go into international flights, what is the maximum weight?
30.
30. Okay, you can go up to 40 kilos, but 40 kilos must be by 2 luggage, right? So 40 divided by 2 is about 20 kilo, right? So the load constant here, okay, from 1981 to 1991, what they amended is the load constant from 40 kilogram, they reduced to 23 kilograms, right? So the load constant is 23 kilograms. So this is where it is the recommended weight limit, basically for someone to lift or lower down things at the workplace, okay, because there's a parameter of duration, DM, duration, and also FM, the frequency. Okay, frequency. M is multiplier. So this is where those aircraft ground support equipment workers, those who are sorting, okay, or putting your luggage into the fuselage of the airplane, or putting it back, okay, onto the trolley, okay, using the conveyors, right? So they need to manually pick up and lower down the baggages, right? So just imagine 40 kilograms for one luggage, so that will be too heavy for them. And just imagine they are doing it, okay, every single time, okay, an aircraft arrives at the terminal, okay, before they depart back. Right? So this is what they do. So this is where, using the NIOSH lifting equation, we could somehow calculate, okay, and see whether that load that a person is handling is suitable or not. Okay, is it acceptable? Okay, and then if you compare it, okay, with RWL, you compare it with the actual load that he or she is lifting or lowering. So somehow you get the lifting index. Okay, the bigger the lifting index, the bigger you are at risk to be exposed to any MSDs, okay, or any injuries. Okay, can anyone follow me?
Yes, okay.
Okay, right. So in this RWL, okay, there's some multipliers here. Okay, basically this the LC is the load constant, that is 23. So we do have the horizontal multiplier, vertical multiplier, okay, the distance multiplier, asymmetric multiplier, whether you need to twist your body when you are handling the object, a frequency multiplier, and also the coupling multiplier. Right. So what you really do with these equation is you put in all the necessary parameters, okay, into the equation, okay, and then you calculate what is the RWL. Then the actual load L, okay, that you are lifting now for that particular task is being divided by the RWL, and if you get an index of 1, below than 1, so it means that you are not at risk. But if you are having the index, lifting index more than 1, 2 or 3, okay, basically you are 2 times or 3 times more the risk of having any injuries, accident, or MSDs due to that lifting or lowering procedure or task. Right? So this is the multipliers. Okay, so this is basically an imperial unit. If you look into a metric unit, so there's some changes in terms of the parameters in the multipliers. So this is an example here. Okay, an example of a NIOSH lifting equation, okay, using the 1991 version. Right. So here it says that the worker, okay, lifts a 20 kilogram load of box from a trolley to a shelf. Right. So this is a trolley, okay, and they have a shelf here. Okay. So having to grasp the box very tightly. Okay. So this worker needs to grasp this box here. Okay, this box here very tightly because it doesn't have any handles or cutouts. Okay, tak ada pemegang lah. Okay. Available without involving, and doing this job or task here, it doesn't involve any body twisting. Okay, so this body twisting is basically related to the asymmetry multiplier. Okay, so what you need to do is calculate the recommended weight limit RWL and also the lifting index for task, and identify whether the worker is at risk or not. Right. So this is the horizontal multiplier HM. Okay, horizontal multiplier is horizontal distance between the load, okay, and also the center CG of the person, not center CG of the person, but the distance from the foot to the object. So this horizontal multiplier. Okay, you can see multiplier, so you can see 25 over H. So H is in cm. Okay, H is in cm
and it is from here, it is 35 cm. Right, so the vertical multiplier, is basically, okay, the distance, okay, location of the object, okay, from the ground, okay, 80 cm, right, and the distance multiplier is the travel distance from the box, from origin to the new location. Okay, so in this particular example, okay, it is from the trolley to the shelf, okay, trolley to the shelf, right? And then we do have the asymmetry multiplier. So asymmetry multiplier is basically twisting. If you require any twisting, okay, for example, okay, anyone follow me?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sir.
All right, where's the, okay, this one. So picking up from one point A and releasing or lowering it to point B. Okay, so the workers need to twist his body, okay, 90 degrees. So this 90 degree is basically the asymmetry multiplier. Okay, and then we do have the frequency multiplier and also the coupling multiplier. So the frequency multiplier, 0.45. So this is where you need to look at the table 10.2, 10.2 in your formal book, okay? Frequency multipliers FM. So there in that particular table, okay, there's a table where on the far left of the table shows the frequency of this man, of this worker, lifting this box here. So what is the frequency? So it is being given here. Lifting is 4 lifts per minute. 4 lifts per minute. Okay, right? So this frequency multiplier is also associated with the V, the vertical distance of the object to the ground. Right. So from here, it says that the task duration is 4 hours. So looking into this table 10.2 here, okay, so it is basically less than 8 hours. Okay, that's correct. And then, sorry, less than the task duration is 4 hours. So it is basically less than 8 hours, right? And the frequency is 4 lifts per minute. So the vertical distance is basically 80 cm. So it is basically more than 75 cm in the table. So finally, we get the frequency multiplier is 0.45. Okay, and then the coupling here. So the coupling depends on whether you do have a good coupling, a good handle to grasp. Okay, whether it is very fair, maybe just a cutout, or maybe there's nothing to hold, nothing to grip, but you still need to move the particular object. So this is where we declare that it has poor coupling, right? So basically, when we put all these dimensions, all these length into the parameters in the NIOSH lifting equations, finally we could get what is the RWL. Okay, RWL is basically recommended weight limit, right? So if you look here, he's basically carrying 20 kilograms of load, 4 lifts per minute in 4 hours. Okay, so it is not good basically, right? So after we calculate what is the RWL, okay, based on this condition, so suppose this particular guy could only lift 6.55 kilograms. If we compare to the actual load that he is lifting, so it is basically 3 times larger, 3.05 larger compared to the actual, compared to the RWL here. Right, so 6.55 times 3, so you get about 18 plus. Okay, so basically, why do we calculate the RWL? Because we want to know whether is the weight, okay, a person needs to lift or lower is appropriate, okay, is suitable for the particular worker, right? And then finally, we like to see what is the risk. Okay, whether they are at high risk, whether they are at medium risk, or whether they are at low risk, yeah, of being exposed to any injuries, okay, any what do you call that, any accidents, okay, and from this RWL also, okay, somehow we could design, okay, what is the task, okay, the optimal task for a person to do, okay, to help to make sure that they do not overexert, okay, and also to make sure that their task is safe for them. Okay, any questions so far?
Sir,
Yes.
is this question will be included in our test too?
Is this equation going to be included in your test too?
These questions like this.
I'm not sure, right? Well, previously, right? I cannot remember what semester. So we had one of the questions like this, calculation like this. Okay, if the question comes out something with related to this, basically you can always refer the equation. Okay, because it is an open book test, right? If not, okay, like previous semester, I'm not sure which semester. So it came out this question, but in the question did give the equation of this RWL. Okay, we did give all these informations here, right? Don't worry, in chapter 5, okay, we are going to look into a bit more detail, okay, because basically there's a few tables that you need to refer to, okay, to get basically what is the frequency, okay, multiplier here, okay, and all others informations for other multipliers are basically from the diagram, okay.
Okay, sir.
All right. Right, so you can see here the worker is at risk of overexertion injuries. Okay, so he's the weight recommended for this worker to lift is basically 6.55. But now he's lifting 20 kilograms of load, right? So he's lifting 3 times the higher, more 3 times higher or 3 times more than the recommended weight limit that he should lift. Right? For example, this is the workstation. So we have designed the workstation for this worker, and he's going to lift this particular box for 4 hours, and every minute he will lift about 4 lifts per minute. So after calculating what is the recommended weight limit, so somehow, okay, the recommended weight limit is 6.55. So this is where you could decide, okay, as an employer, okay, as an engineer, as an executive in that particular company, okay, you can somehow reduce it to 6 kilograms. So the load of the box will be only 6 kilograms. So if he's working for 4 hours, okay, 4 lifts per minute, so most probably the risk is not that high. Okay, except if he has already pre-fatigue, okay, pre-fatigue symptoms, okay, or he has a previous history of trauma, accidents, and whatnot that could contribute to any injuries, MSDs, and whatnot. So if he's healthy, so he should only pick up a load of 6.55 or 6 kilograms, just to round it up, or 6 kilograms, right? But if he's transferring 20 kilograms, definitely, okay, with these parameters, okay, means that 4 lifts per minute, okay, in 4 hours with no handle to grip and whatnot, okay, with this certain height, he will definitely be exposed, okay. So we are trying to get LI, the lifting index, 1 or below than 1. But now it is 3.05, means that 3 times much more riskier, okay, to be exposed to any injuries, okay, or any MSDs. All right. Can anyone get that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let's look back at the notes here. So this is the equations in imperial unit. Okay, where you can see the frequency multiplier and also the coupling multiplier. You need to refer to a very specific table, okay, with respect to the NIOSH lifting equation. Right, so we do have a worksheet here, okay, just to calculate. And basically now you can just Google NIOSH lifting equation. They have already come up with a calculator, simple calculator in Microsoft Excel. You just need to put in all the parameters inside it, need to put in all the information inside it, and then the calculator will calculate what is the RWL and also what is the lifting index. Right? So basically here we are trying to assess the risk, okay, whether it is severe, whether it is not, and also whether the weight that the worker is lifting is appropriate or not. Right? So these are some of the examples, okay, where NIOSH looks into workers, okay, trying to stack, okay, the boxes, okay, on the pallet. Okay, so this is basically lowering down the boxes from the conveyor onto the pallet. Okay, so this is what I've said just now. We do have lifting calculator to assist us in calculating what is the RWL and also what is the lifting index. Okay. Right, and then there's another calculator that is being developed by the WISHA, okay, Washington Industrial, I cannot remember what does it stand for. So basically they have developed a calculator that basically gives you some idea, okay, or gives you some indicator, okay, whether you are at low risk, whether you are at medium risk, or whether you are at high risk of doing that particular job, especially with respect to lifting or lowering down the loads. Okay, right? Any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay, right. So again, why do we need all these? Assessment tools? Okay, like this NIOSH lifting equation. Why do we need such tools? Okay, it is basically an old equation. Okay, it was being introduced in 1981. And 1981, 10 years later, it is being amended. Okay, and it is still being used now because it is a valid tool. Okay, why we need this type of tool? Anyone?
To reduce the risk.
It's not to reduce the risk. It's not to reduce the risk, but to assess. Okay, but to assess. So now we are looking into ergonomic assessment. So what you are doing in your mini project, basically, you are trying to assess. Trying to assess the risk, right? You are trying to assess the risk at workplace using what? Using initial error. Okay, initial ergonomic risk assessment. You are trying to assess first, because in any risk assessment, you need to assess it. Okay, whether how severe it is, okay, where it is come from, what is the origin and whatnot. Okay, so you need to assess the level of risk first. Okay, so same as this. Okay, so in the NIOSH lifting equation, okay, we are trying to calculate the RWL, recommended limit. From there, we could calculate what is the lifting index, and from that lifting index, this is where it shows you whether you are at, high risk, medium risk, or at low risk. Okay, to be exposed to what? To be exposed to what? Risk of exposing to? Yes, hazards, okay, injuries, MSDs, accidents, and many more. Okay. Right. So okay, so this is from the NIOSH Ergo Plus website, okay, that I did refer the notes here. Okay, Ergonomics Plus here. So I've subscribed to it, so I do get information on this in my email and whatnot. Okay, so they have this calculator here. Okay, and then calculate, and then here you can see the lifting index is 1.16. Okay, from the origin to destination or destination to origin, so it is only 1.16 or 1.63. So it is acceptable. Okay, because we are trying to look at a lifting index, okay, of 1 or below than 1. If it is higher than 1, means that it is doubling up, okay, or it is 3 times much more higher. If it is the lifting index is 3 point something, it is 3 times much more. If it is 4 point something, it is 4 times higher, okay, for you to be exposed to any hazards, injuries, okay, and many more, right? So these are some of the okay, further readings, okay, that you could do, okay, at home. All right. So in chapter 5, we also have, because in chapter 5 we have the notes on setting up a workplace. Okay, setting up a workplace, okay, workstation design. So there we'll be looking into again the NIOSH lifting equation. Okay. And then the remaining notes, okay, basically is talking about back safety, right? Why we are always talking about back safety, because this is the most common pain, okay, or common injury, okay, that a worker, okay, is associated with when they are manually handling any loads. Okay, so a live example is like me. Okay, now I'm suffering a quite severe back pain, so I cannot somehow straighten my back, or if I bow too much, okay, I will have this feeling of like a muscle cramp, okay, on my back, and it is very painful, right? And so that's why yesterday I went to see the specialist, and he said it is somehow what they call is muscle spasm, and it is very, very common, okay, whereby if something is not right, okay, on your back, so trying to protect the back, so this is where the muscle reacts, okay, by providing, okay, the muscle spasm to protect basically the function of your backbone, right? But what cause that muscles to be in a spasm condition? So this is where the doctor wants to investigate, and this is only possible via MRI. MRI. So if you do an X-ray, last week I requested for an X-rays, but the doctor somehow said that there's no need of you to do an X-ray, because from the diagnostic and also from the investigation, they said there's nothing to do with a fractured bone. Okay, so after 1 week, if the pain, okay, is still there, so that is where we need to do an MRI, okay, to investigate further, and that's what I'm going to do. I think either by tonight or maybe tomorrow. That's because I'm going to be admitted after this. Okay, so when we talk about back safety, okay, it is always related to your okay, it is always related to the way you are working, okay, and especially when you are handling your loads manually. Okay, so just something that we have gone through before, just to refresh your understanding. Okay, so statistics, okay, everywhere, every part in the world, okay, most of the people, when they say that they have back injury, so most of them requires medical attention. Okay, another 20%, like that in the US, 80%. They say 80% of Americans that have back injury requires medical attention. That is 80%. How about another 20%? Another 20% maybe have back injuries, but they do not require medical attention, maybe. Right? Just come check. Can everyone hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
Ustaz.
sir.
Okay, right. Very much for the response. So you can see, okay, when we talk about back injury, okay, it is basically it will affect, okay, basically the company. Okay, there will be high absenteeisms. Okay, company needs to invest more to substitute or replace the worker that is absent due to back pain, right? So whether they need to pay extra overtime to another person to complete the person's is being diagnosed with LBP or slip disc or whatnot, okay, to take over their work, or maybe they need to hire a new worker, okay, that will incur much more higher cost. Okay. So going back to back injuries, why does it occur? So this is basically due to the lifestyle, okay, due to maybe trauma from accidents, okay, and maybe due to daily things that you do, okay, lifting or lowering objects, okay, that is beyond your capacity to lower it or to lift it. So these are types of back injuries: strain, sprain, bulging disc, and also herniated disc, and many more. Right? And we talk about the causes of back injury. Okay, it is always on the posture, okay, and always on the load. Okay, so this X-ray here, you can see this particular person is having a curved spine, or we could it is also known as sclerosis. You know sclerosis? Your backbone is somehow like an S shape. Anyone follow me?
Yes, sir.
Right, sclerosis. And most of the patients of sclerosis patients are basically the ladies. Okay. Any guess why? Any guess why ladies normally get sclerosis? Anyone?
Sebab mengandung. Pregnant.
Sebab
High heels.
pregnant. Okay, this is the beauty, okay, of God's creation. When women are pregnant, okay, somehow perut kaki depan lah. So to stabilize this is where they have a much bigger pelvic, okay, compared to males. So this is where they are being balanced, right? So kejadian Allah tu it is perfect lah, tidak kisah siap lah, right? So kalau depan berat, belakang can support. So that's why ladies they have a much more bigger pelvic lah. Okay, so in terms of size, in terms of to stabilize this, right? So it's not about pregnant. There's something else. Anything? Give me a guess. For the ladies, can I have some response? Why do you think that? I don't say that all of sclerosis patients are females, but most of them are females, right? My elder sister herself has a bit of sclerosis. Okay, why do you think this happens mostly to females? Can I have some response from the ladies? Or maybe there are some of you, anyone suffering from sclerosis, maybe a minor one, I'm not sure.
No.
I'm not sure.
Any guess? Any guess from the males? Okay, pregnant? Not because of pregnant, not because of pregnant.
High heels.
They have say again?
High heels.
Yes, high heels. High heels. High heels is one of the factor of female to be diagnosed with sclerosis. High heels. Okay, pakai tumit tinggi. Oh, 3 inci 3 inci. Right? Because you are somehow shifting the load. Remember, our back is like a fulcrum. So you are shifting the load. So this is where you could be suffering from sclerosis. Tapi bukan sehari dua pakai lah. This is talking about prolonged. Okay, it must involve some duration, time domain. So wearing high heels. Okay, so basically wearing high heel is not good for health lah. Tapi pakai juga. So apa? Why? The ladies?
Tinggi.
Why do you wear high heels? Gaya. Biar cantik asalkan bergaya kan.
Tambah
Biar cantik.
self-confidence.
Self-confidence. Okay, right. I'm not saying that you cannot wear high heels lah. Okay, maybe you can alternate. Okay, but among the factors of having sclerosis is basically wearing high heels. And the second one, there's another one. What's the other one? Give me a guess. The ladies. Something to do with a lady's behavior, especially when they are sitting. Any idea? Any ladies here to give some response? Are you following me?
Yes, sir.
So anyone, any ladies here would like to give some response? Another factor that cause you to get sclerosis. Your bone is going to be like an S shape.
Their bone structure.
The bone structure, there are some cases with genetic, lahir-lahir dari sclerosis memang ada. Okay, one of my wife's student, murid sekolah, there was one, I always see this student, okay, male student, whereby every day her mother will pick him up using a wheelchair, and he is suffering from sclerosis, quite severe one. If you are suffering a very severe sclerosis, mainly your body is not stable, dan dia macam bongkok sikit lah, dia hunchback, right? So this is where patients like this really needs medical attention lah. Okay, really needs medical attention. Okay, so there is sometimes due to memang dah lahir-lahir dah ada sclerosis lah. Okay, but this is a factor of behavior. Okay, the other one is if you look at females, okay, ladies lah, okay, what they like to do when they are sitting, they like to cross their legs. So lah. Can I have some response from the ladies? Suka silang kaki. Is it correct? Especially those working in office areas, right? You like to cross your legs, right? So among other factors that causes sclerosis is basically crossing your legs, right? Because it involves your pelvic bone, okay, involves your spine, right? So you can go to YouTube, okay, those who are not the faint-hearted ones, okay, yang tak mabuk darah, okay, you can go to YouTube and then you can see that, just type, okay, search for sclerosis surgery, okay, and then you can see how scary it is, to somehow put in those screws, okay, put in those wires to straighten back your backbone due to sclerosis. It is like wearing braces, macam wearing braces kan, pakai those who are wearing braces on their teeth. Okay, you have these what call it? You don't have screws, but you have these the fixture, where the fixture are being fixed with wires, right? And then that wire is being tightened to make sure that the teeth comes into a good shape, right? So it is the same thing that happens to sclerosis patients, right? So so those I think you are now aware of why sclerosis happens, right? So maybe if you are a big fan of high heels, it's not that you cannot wear it, but you need to alternate. Okay, and also gain posture. Okay, sitting posture plays a big role. Okay, yes.
Kalau bersila,
Again.
Duduk bersila.
Kalau duduk bersila is basically you are just folding your knee, your leg, lah. Okay.
Tak effect lah.
Basically your spine is straight. Duduk bersila dia duduk kaki masuk tengah kan, right? You bongkok ke depan lah. Okay, so you are just putting some stress on the spine lah, but you are not somehow kita panggil apa? Mengubah kedudukan tulang belakang. Okay, tulang belakang tu masih tegak, right? But when you are crossing your legs, you are somehow putting a load onto another leg. Okay, so dia tak stable lah. right? And also when you are on high heels, basically the load is going to shift one leg to another leg, and the support tu dekat hujung heels tu lah, right? So I'm not sure anyone here wearing high heels. When you wear high heels, you get a leg pain. Sakit kaki tak? Can I have some response from the ladies?
Tak tahu.
Tak? Ke semua tak pakai high heels, semua pakai yang biasa-biasa je kan? Okay. This is talking about very high heels, high heels yang Miss Universe pakai tu. Right, yang Muhammad Datin pakai tu. Okay. So this is where I think from my observation, I think you do get maybe some leg pain, maybe on your calf. Ada tak? Sakit tak? Sakit betis tak? Betis, tumit. Sakit tak agak? Anyone with experience wearing high heels? Ataupun ada kakak dia pakai high heels ke? Saya punya student semua lelaki ke perempuan ni? Okay, this 26. Sakit right? Tapi tak apa kan? Right? Masukkan berjaya right? So duduk sila, I think that is not much problem lah. But I just share with you one experience of mine a couple of years back before. Yes?
Nak tanya, yang kalau duduk bersimpuh tu, macam perempuan punya duduk yang duduk yang sopan tu.
Duduk sopan tu, yes.
Akan menyebabkan scoliosis ya?
I'm not sure about that. Tapi if in a prolong, okay, because duduk bersimpuh ni macam kita duduk tahiyat akhir kan?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not sure about that. I haven't read any research on that yet, right? But if you look into solat, every movement that we do is always related to the health, right? So mesti ada sebab kenapa kita duduk tahiyat akhir, kita jadi in a position where our body is shifted to the left, right? But our head and our shoulder is in the opposite way lah, kan? Kita akan shiftkan lawan balik ke sebelah kanan. I'm not sure, right? Because I haven't read anything about that type of sitting posture lah. Okay, but due to high heels, okay, I think it is more due to an instability of load. Instability of load when you are doing it alternately. Okay, macam high heels tu pakai kan, kiri kanan kan, right? And also when you are crossing your legs, sekejap kiri, sekejap kanan, sekejap kiri, sekejap kanan, right? But duduk bersimpuh ni, I'm not sure. Okay, maybe you would like to research on it. Okay, that would be good lah. Okay, have you heard about one research? One research being conducted. I'm not sure. If I'm not mistaken, this research was conducted by a non-Muslim. I'm not sure. And they were researching about sujud in salat. Okay, and they said there's one blood capillary on our head, a very small capillary, okay, whereby the blood can only access that capillary when you are in a prostrating posture. Prostrating ni sujud lah, waktu sujud. Okay, and by having blood flowing into that very small capillary, okay, somehow it avoids you from having penyakit lupa ni panggil apa? Insomnia, is it? Penyakit lupa ni?
Insomnia.
Insomnia, is it? Alzheimer, and also from having migraine, is it? Sakit kepala lah. Okay, and this was conducted. I'm not sure lah. You can check it back. Okay, but this is again being researched from the solat movement, right? And there's also one research done by one of my friends at UC Malaya. Okay, they looked into the movement of the solat. Okay, this is about biomechanics lah. Movement of the solat, and they look into the muscles, and when they compare it with exercises, they found out that the solat, okay, what you do in solat is basically somehow is equal to performing yoga. So it is this type of exercise, right? So maybe you would like to do some further readings, okay, about duduk bersimpuh tu, bagus juga kan? Tapi that is one of our culture lah. Duduk bersimpuh nampak ayu je kan. But I'm not sure whether it could contribute to any sclerosis or not. Alright. Okay, so those who are into high heels, crossing your legs, it's not that you cannot, but try to minimize the usage lah. Okay. Right. Any questions? Any other questions? Okay, my back is starting to ache back again. I'm wearing a lumbar support basically, okay, to somehow compress the muscles, okay, at my lower back. All right. So these are some of the cause of back injuries. Okay, that is, I think, it is very straightforward for you to understand. All right. So overreaching. Okay. So back these conditions and causes. Right. So when we do know all these, okay, what could we do? Okay, we could somehow prevent. Okay, prevent and also make sure that okay, we can avoid having back pains, right? Like me, I'm teaching you guys about how to avoid back pain, but me myself, okay, is suffering from back pain, right? Because we cannot somehow predict what is the cause of back pain. I think among other factors of me having a back pain since last week is due to maybe a previous history of sports injury. Okay, 20 years back, I was very active in sports, in football, right? So sports injury during football is quite common at that time, and now after 20 years, barulah rasa the effect. Okay, plus by the pindah rumah lah, moving out. Okay, that was being done by me and my wife. Okay, and my little kids. Barang susun dan sebagainya. So maybe that is among the causes lah. Right. So how to make sure you do not get this back pain? Okay. So exercises, warm ups. Okay. So these are some of the injury preventions. Okay, that you could always do, and it really helps. Okay. I've tried this before. Okay, and if you do remember, when I moved into my house in Section 23, okay, I did all the paint cat rumah, okay, by myself. So before I did all those paintings, painting the ceiling, okay, the plaster ceiling, the walls, okay, the doors, okay, I did warm up, I did some stretching, and it helped me a lot, okay, of not having muscle pain after that. Right. And for my project and PhD project, I did on motorcyclist muscle fatigue. Okay, this is where I did suggest several exercises, okay, for motorcyclists to do before they go onto a prolonged ride, okay, like a convoy or going back to their hometown, balik kampung dan sebagainya. And me myself, okay, tested the exercise when we went to Fraser Hill, okay, convoy to Fraser Hill. So I did the stretching and whatnot. So I compared with convoy without any stretching. So that stretching really helped, okay, to soothe the muscles, to make sure that the muscles are flexible, okay, before you go for the ride and eventually after the ride. So I do not feel that muscle pain or discomfort after the ride. Right, just confirm, can anyone follow me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So other than this, if you look into the following notes, okay, basically this is talking about liftings, okay, manual handlings, right? So what you should do, what should you use, okay? These are all to avoid all these injuries that may occur, right? So when we look into the previous NIOSH lifting equation, after knowing all those parameters, okay, this is where in next chapter 5, we are looking into workstation design. So this is where you could design a workstation, okay, design a work procedure, design a task, okay, that could be quantified using certain methods, certain equations, okay, so that the task, the workstation, okay, the workplace that you are setting up, it is safe for your workers, is comfortable for your workers, so they could maximize their performance and minimize the hazards, right? So lifting posture, okay, how to lift boxes, okay, bags, okay, team lifting, we've looked into this previously, right? And then we handling loads, okay, unloading, right? And then finally, okay, we look into things that are much more higher, so we should use steps and whatnot. All right. So again, we are always talking about the back, because why? Because when we are lifting or when we are lowering or when we are manually handling load, okay, it is always associated with your back. So apa? Tu orang cakap tulang belakang, tulang belakang. Okay, the main spine, your main spinal bone, your vertebra. So this is where all the loads are going to be focused on that muscle, on that bones, on those muscles around it, okay, to support your whole body. Okay, so these are okay. You can see this particular is wearing a brace. Okay, right. What's wrong here? Okay, so it's basically moving heavy boxes. The box is tilted, right? So there's no handle there. You can see there's no handle there, right? So you need to grasp it. So you can see he's somehow tilted forward. So this is where he could strain his back. Okay. Any questions?
No.
No,
No, sir.
Okay, and then the final chapter of the chapter 4 is basically on certain exercises. Okay, certain exercises that could somehow help you, okay, to be flexible, okay, to be flexible before you do any job, right? So this is where you can see, okay, work, flex, and play. All right, so if you know how does your bone, okay, the behavior of your bones, okay, basically it is flexible because we have one bone being connected together, okay, being cushioned together. Between them are discs, okay, to absorb the load, the vibrations, okay, and it could flex, okay. So if you have a spinal problem, okay, a bone problem, okay, a very severe slip disc, okay, maybe the spinal surgeon will suggest you to do surgery on your bone. Okay, they call it CLIF, TLIF. Okay, you can just Google or you can just look at YouTube. CLIF, TLIF. Okay, CLIF stands for I cannot remember what it stands for, but it is basically a surgery that is being conducted on your backbone, okay, whereby the disc is being taken out, okay, and then part of your bone is being implanted between your bones, and it will grow out, and then it will fuse two bones together. Jadi macam batang tebu lah. So when this happens, you somehow lose your back flexibility. You cannot bend, you cannot twist. It limits your flexibility. And apart from that, the trade-off is that you do not feel your pain anymore. Okay, but the trade-off is that you cannot move, okay, as flexible as before you do the surgery. So you can look into CLIF, TLIF, or MS CLIF. MS CLIF is minor surgery, not minor, minimal. I don't remember what's the acronym, the full acronym of MS CLIF, but you can just look into YouTube, okay, and you can see the surgery. And also, it is also very, very scary, MS CLIF. Right, so this is the cause of back pain, right? So this is the donut symptom, right? So your bone is something like this. Okay, this vertebra here, and you do have between the vertebrae, you do have the disc there. So if the disc, okay, is bulging out, so you do have the spinal cord here. So this is where your spinal cord will be pressed, okay, by the bulging disc. So this is where sometimes you feel numbness at certain areas of your lower limbs, of your shoulder, okay, and also this tingling pain, so this is symptoms of having quite a severe slip disc. I don't feel this yet. Okay, I only feel the muscle spasm. So I do hope my MRI will be not that severe, inshallah. Okay, I'll share with you guys the results maybe after the MRI. Right, so what to do? So we must always be in good posture, right? And also we need to look into the guidelines of lifting, right? And besides that, even when you are sleeping, okay, your posture of sleeping, the mattress, your pillow is always important. Tu kadang bangun tidur, when you wake up in the morning, you get stiff shoulder, betul tak? Okay, stiff shoulder, jadi Robocop, tak boleh nak pusing leher. You need to twist your whole body, okay, to turn around. Okay, then when someone asks you what happened, what's the answer? What's the common answer? When you get
Salah bantal.
Salah bantal. Bantal yang salah kan. Sebenarnya is your sleeping posture. Okay. Right. So this is basically ends our fourth chapter. Right. Zul Hajjaj, hormone. What is hormone, Hajjaj? I just missed the chat box. What is it on hormone just now? Zul Hajjaj, are you here? Hilang dah Zul Hajjaj. Okay, I looked something in the cause of sclerosis. Okay, is it hormone cause of sclerosis? It is more to posture lah. It is more to posture. Hormone. Okay, no problem. Right. Well, hormone, normally hormone is influencing the reaction of your body, emotions of your body. But if you look into the biomechanics of your body, right, the structure, okay, so mainly it is due to your posture, okay, right. So I think can we have a 5-minute rest? I need to stretch my back a bit. I'll see you guys again in the second session in chapter 5. I'll be because we have finished chapter 4, so we'll look into chapter 5. So I need everyone to shift to chapter 5. I'll create the meet after this. All right. So we'll meet back at around 3:30. Yeah. Right. So thank you very much. Anyone could shift to chapter 5 channel after this. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
We'll come back to the next session of the lecture for today. Right. For information, can everyone hear me? Just a com check here.
Yes. Sir.
Yes.
I'm recording this session. Okay, so now we are in the chapter 5 channel. Okay, so I'll be giving you some introduction of chapter 5 before next week. We'll be continuing on the 5th chapter,
And finally, the 6th chapter on the PPE, that is much more very common to you guys. Okay, I'll be sharing my screen now. Okay, can you see the screen? Right. So in this, right, can anyone see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right,
Yes,
so
sir.
it's the 5th chapter. So after going through 4 chapters previously, we've looked into most of the topics is basically on human factors and ergonomics with respect to hazard prevention, risk assessment, right? The human body. Okay, and now, okay, we are looking into workstation design. Okay, based on our previous knowledge, now this is where we could design our workstation based on what we have learned, based on the knowledge that we have gained from the previous 1st to the 4th chapter previously. And so in this chapter, basically, we are looking into designing of workstation. Okay, workstation design. Right. So when we talk about ergonomic design with respect to a workstation or a workplace, okay, what you are doing basically in your mini project, okay, we are always trying to design all those features involved in that system, okay, so that it could somehow maximize, okay, the human's performance and also reduce the hazards, right? So we are trying to design, okay, a workplace whereby we could fit the job to the human. If you still remember, okay, in chapter 1 or chapter 2, okay, the technology whereby we are in ergonomics, we are trying to fit the job to the man, not fitting the man to the job, right? So when we want to fit, okay, the job to the man, this is where there's several considerations, okay, of design embedding ergonomics that we need to look into. And so among the aspects, okay, that we need to consider when we talk about ergonomics design, especially in workstation design, okay, at the workplace. So these are the 5 things that we really need to stress on. Basically, the first one is on safety, right? And the second is on comfort. Okay, comfort, ease of use if it involves any machines, involves any tools, involves any equipment. Okay, and then you need to look into the productivity and also the performance. Okay, whether it could somehow increase productivity and also performance, and finally on the aesthetics. Okay, why on the aesthetics is very, very important? Anyone? Why do you think aesthetic is very important in a workplace or workstation design?
For mood.
Say again.
Mood.
Mood, is it? Mood, I heard mood, is it?
Yes.
Yes, mood. Why? Because in this system, okay, when you talk about algorithm, they must always have, it must always involve these 3 elements: the human, the machine, and also the environment, right? The HMEI interactions. Okay, and humans in this system, okay, in this interaction, humans are very flexible. Okay, they are always affected, okay, by the machine and also by the environment. Okay, because we human beings are very, very flexible, right? So emotions, moods, plays a big role, in the setup of the workplace, of the workstation, right? So that's why aesthetics, okay, is also one of the factors that you need to consider. Okay, I'm not sure if you have heard about KE, Kansei Engineering. Have you heard about it? Kansei Engineering. Maybe
No.
my CAT class, I think I've touched on this before. Kansei Engineering, emotion in design. Kansei Engineering. You can Google after this about Kansei. KANSEI, Kansei Engineering. It is a engineering philosophy being introduced by one of the professor from Japan. I do not remember what is his name, but I have the opportunity to meet him. Okay, I went to his talk. He came to Malaysia. He came to UiTM and gave a talk at FSKM, Faculty Science, Computer and Mathematics, okay, just nearby our faculty. So he gave a talk on Kansi engineering, okay, because one of the lecturers there, okay, Associate Professor Dr. Anita Wati, okay, so her PhD was in Kansi engineering, and she did under the supervision of this professor. I do not remember what is his name basically, right? He's Japanese. At that time, it was 4 or 5 years back. Okay, and at that time, his age is already 80 years plus. He's very old, right? But he was the one, okay, responsible of introducing Kansi engineering, emotion in design, okay, into the design and development process. Okay, so if we talk about Kansi engineering, we are always talking about emotion. And when we talk about humans, when we talk about human factors, when we talk about ergonomics, okay, so emotion is one of the aspects, okay, that somehow affects, okay, the performance of the human, right? For example, if you are going into a room, okay, with certain what do you call that? Certain paintings, or colored. You paint your room with certain colors, right? So it will somehow create, okay, an environment, whether it is spacious, whether it is hot, okay. If you paint it with red color, spacious. If you paint it with white, okay, or dull, if you paint it with maybe a dark gray, right? Green will be green or blue will be a bit more relaxed. And so this is where aesthetics comes in when we talk about workstation design. Okay, right. So in my previous class, the other class, when I talk about this, I give an example of me having, I bought a new sofa, right? So what is the sofa for? What is the sofa for? Basically,
To sit.
sofa, to sit, right? So if you go to any furniture gallery and whatnot, okay, furniture store, okay, kedai perabot lah. And when you look at a sofa, all sofas, the main purpose is to sit, right? So what makes you decide which sofa to buy? Okay, because every sofa is basically, okay, besides the price, because we are always going to look for the cheapest one, right? So besides the price, so we are looking into another feature of the sofa. So when I bought this sofa with my wife, okay, so we were attracted by the design of the sofa. It looks very modern. Okay, means that aesthetics came into our eyes first. Okay, right. And then when we sat on that sofa, okay, that was the first time, okay, I sat on the sofa and I feel my lumbar, my back is being supported. Okay, there's somehow a lumbar support on that sofa. Where do you get a lumbar support? On a chair, basically on an ergonomic chair, right? On an office chair. Okay, but on a sofa, I do feel that it is really comfortable because when I lean back, I feel the cushion supporting my back. It is like lumbar support. Okay, and the headrest could be adjusted. And when I lean further back, okay, I can feel that the headrest, okay, really supports my head. Right. So I was having this thought that, okay, this is something different from typical sofas that I've sat on before. Right. And can one follow me? This is another concept.
Yes, sir.
Right. So when I sat on that sofa, and my wife sat on the sofa, and then we said, okay, this sofa feels good. Besides the look, okay, the price is okay lah, within our budget. And the promoter started to promote and introduce about the sofa. And what did she describe about this sofa? She said that this sofa is ergonomically designed because you have your back support, the lumbar, and the headrest could be adjusted. And when you sit on it, okay, the cushion is being designed to be not that when you sit, you taklah terduduk dalam sangat. Okay, it is somehow supporting your thigh. So she was talking about ergonomics, lumbar support, hand rest, backrest, the adjustable headrest and whatnot. Okay, the height. Okay, and then after she explained everything, then I said, okay, yes, I feel that it is ergonomic design and it's good. And coincidentally, I told her that I'm also teaching ergonomic design. And then she somehow right? And he said, oh, really? I hope I did explain the correct thing on ergonomic. So I said, betul lah, semua tu betul lah. And I really feel that it is very comfortable. Okay, and this is the first time I sit on the sofa, okay, that have this lumbar support. Okay, before that, okay, I called her before I went to the showroom. I called her and asked about the sofa and whatnot. And then she said, you need to come and test it yourself. Dia kata macam tu. Right? So this is where I went to the showroom. It is in Puchong. Yes, Puchong, somewhere in Puchong. So I went there one day with my wife, and then she said, you must try it yourself. Because the promoter said, do you have any experience buying our sofas before? So I said, this is our first time buying sofa with you, but we were attracted by the design. It looks very modern, right? And we really like the design, right? But she said there's something different from our sofas to other sofas that you can find out there, and you really need to come and test it yourself. So that's where I went there, and then when I sat on that sofa, I really felt that yes, it is very comfortable because your back, your lumbar is somehow being supported with cushion, cushion supported, okay, and it feels very nice when you lean back, right? So again, this is where aesthetics comes in, right? Appealing to the eyes, and also when there's something different, okay? Every sofa is the same. The purpose is for you to sit, okay? Kadang kita baring kat sofa, right? But there must be something different, and this is where when we talk about ergonomics, we are trying to increase, okay, the value of that product, okay, so that, you know, somehow performance, sitting performance lah, right? Sitting on a sofa like that, okay, will be very, very comfortable after a long, tiring day of work. All right. So when we talk about workstation design again, okay, this is where this is the example, designing a chair, right? So this is where I shared with my the other group of my Ergo class about the sofa story, right? So this is where besides the purpose of the product, this is where ergonomics do help to value add that particular product in terms of its function. Okay, so when we talk about workplace design, workstation design, okay, we are always going to talk about the layout, okay, the arrangements, okay. Like buying a new house, okay, moving into a new house like me, okay, I said to my wife, we need to minimize the household furnitures, okay, to make things a bit more, what do you call that? Minimalism, right? Not too many furnitures, okay? Sebenarnya senang kemas lah, right? And also it looks a bit more relaxed, right? So the arrangements, in terms of a workplace, okay, the arrangements of your machines, okay, your furnitures, your racking, right? Your working area, your walking around and whatnot is very, very important. Because why? Okay, if you remember the tiles, okay, in manual handling, TILE, the task, individual, load, and also the environment. Okay, the environment is where you really need a good space to move, okay, to handle your loads and whatnot. So it is talking about the arrangements, okay, of those equipments, furniture in a particular workspace, okay, so that no hazards, or we can reduce the hazards okay, that may be present at that particular facility layout. Right, can everyone follow me?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
So what makes a good layout? What makes a good workstation? Okay, in a workplace, okay, this is basically some of the good layouts. Okay, but the main thing is that remember the three interactions between the human, machine, and environment. Okay, whereby the human is always flexible, right? So in a good layout of a workstation or workplace, this is where we try to make sure that hazards could be reduced, okay, and we try to avoid any risk of accidents, okay, or injuries, okay, due to collisions, okay, due to trip and falls maybe, right? Because if you don't have a good layout, okay, you cannot work, okay, you cannot work comfortably, okay, you cannot work efficiently, right? For example, remember about your lab session where we look into one of the equipment is light level lux meter. Remember light level lux meter? Okay, if the lightings, okay, of a workstation is not that good, it's poor or bad, right? It will somehow affect, okay, it will somehow affect the workers. So the workers' performance will be affected. Okay, maybe there will be lots of rejected parts. Okay, lots of rework need to do. So all these will incur the cost of the company. What happens? End of the year, workers do not get any bonus. What's the chain reaction? Workers' morale or motivation will reduce. So in the coming years, workers are not that motivated to work anymore, so the company loses a lot, right? Because the main asset of a company, of a manufacturer, are basically the workers. Okay, those workers who are in the production line, those workers who are in the painting line, those workers who are in the assembly line. Okay, all those logistic workers. Okay, these are the main engine of a company. If they are not there, company will definitely cannot make any profit, right? So when we talk about the strategies of producing a good layout, there are two major strategies. Basically, the first is the process layout, okay, and the second is the product layout. In the process layout, whereby you do combine, okay, all the machines or processes, okay, of the same type, okay, you group them together and then you put them into one section, okay. Because why? Because it is much easier for you to control, okay, in terms of the hazards, in terms of the workers, in terms of the process itself, okay. Or the second is the product layout, okay, whereby all the activities again are being grouped together, okay, with respect to the product layout, okay, throughout the lines, okay, whereby this is where using either design strategies, or whether using the process layout or the product layout, you are trying to make sure, okay, layout ni apa layout? You punya ni lah, you punya your area, okay, the arrangement of the area. Okay. The main thing is where your workers can work efficiently. Okay, two things: increase performance and minimize hazards. Right? Because if you can increase the performance of the worker, okay, the company makes a big profit, and then the company can give you 6 months of bonus. 6 months of bonus. Just imagine you are an exec or an engineer at a company, okay, your salary is about, let's say, 3,000 per month. You get 6 months of bonus. Macam Pro 2, 6 bulan, 6 bulan gaji, bonus. Kerja kerjaan tak dapat lah. Okay, normally we get 1,500, right? Alhamdulillah lah. If you go to the industry, go to the private sector, if the company makes a big profit, normally they can give you up to 6 months of bonus. Just imagine 6 times 3,000, how much?
18,000.
18,000. Boleh kahwin lah tu. Dapat bonus boleh kahwin, 1,000 juga tu kan. Right? Okay. So this is where again The chain reaction again reflects how the company manages the asset, how the company manages the human operators. Okay, and among others is to have a good design layout of the workplace, of the workstation. Okay, right. So looking into design of workstation, also work tasks. Okay, we are always trying to provide, okay, a workplace, okay, that includes ergonomics design principles, okay, in terms of the procedure, in terms of the design layout, in terms of the furnitures being used. Okay, because why? Because we always want to make sure that human operators or the workers could maximize their performance and minimize hazards. Okay, so among others, okay, why we apply ergonomics to the workplace, so that we can reduce potential accidents. Okay, we can reduce injuries and health issues. Okay, and this meeting we want to improve performance and also productivity. Okay, so again, interaction between these parameters. Okay, the worker, the human. Okay, the work setting. Okay, of the tools, furniture, whatnot. There is the machine, okay, the HMEI, human machine environment interactions, and finally the work environment. Okay, we must always have these three interactions, okay, so that you get a closed loop system. Okay, right? I always give an example, okay, whereby if you are relating HMEI with respect to a motorcyclist. The motorcyclist is the human, the motorcycle is the machine, the environment is the road you are riding on it. So if you don't have these three elements, okay, interacting together, well, basically you are not at risk at all. Okay, but if you do have these three elements together, you are a motorcyclist, you are riding your motorcycle, you are riding it on the road, well, you are basically exposed to some risk. Right, so this is where we try to educate motorcyclists. Okay, this is what I'm doing currently. Educate motorcyclists to ride properly, correctly, and also safely. Okay, so talking about going back to the workplace design. Okay, so this is where we need to consider, okay, the layout. Okay, we need to consider where to put all the machines. We need to consider where to put all the equipments, and we need to consider the work procedure and also the work task. Right. These are the interactions. Okay, at workstation you have the human, you have your machines, and you have the task. Okay, you have the environment there. Okay, so this is where it will go back, okay, to the person's well-being. Okay, whether he or she can work efficiently, safely, comfortably at that particular workstation, and finally the output performance, that is what is going to be translated. Okay, so if you are not providing a good workstation, a good workplace for your workers, okay, maybe they will be affected, okay, exposed to any hazards, right? They get injuries, okay, they get accidents, okay, they experience accident injuries, or maybe MSDs, okay, so you will be having a big or high number of absenteeisms. So having high number of absenteeisms, okay, will cause you to hire more workers, okay, that it will incur cost, or you need to hire current workers to do overtime, so that will also incur cost. Okay, so that's why at the end of the year, the company is unable to give the workers any bonus. Right? So what happens? The bonus become demotivated. So in the long run, okay, the company maybe will face a few problems in terms of their financial. Right? So among others, okay, when we are talking about the human and also the task that they are doing, okay, there's always an interaction between them. So these are three main links between a person and a job. Is basically the VDU, visual display unit, what they see, they interact with basically the screen. Okay, and then the manipulator, okay, that are the controls, okay, and also the body support, okay, basically the seat, okay, that they sit on, that they stand on, okay, that requires them to execute their job. Okay, so upon VDU, okay, display rate or visual display terminal workstations, right? There are certain design guidelines, okay, that shows you what are the degree angles, okay, where the screen needs to be located, what is the size, okay, what is the what we call it, the lightings, okay, needed at that particular workplace like this, right? So all these basically affects the workers' performance. Okay, all these basically affects the workers' performance, right? And then whether you do have all these criteria, okay, on the furnitures that they use, right? So if you look into Google company, they invest a lot, okay, on ergonomics chair. They do invest a lot on ergonomics chair. Can anyone follow me? Just a couple of minutes before we wrap up the session.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
betul.
like Google, they invest a lot on ergonomics chair. Why? Because Google workers are always in front of their PC, in front of their laptops. They sit a lot. So they really need a very good, comfortable ergonomic chair to execute their work. Right? So they do invest a lot. And one ergonomic chair costs thousands of ringgit and maybe dollars. Right? But why they invest? Because they want to take care of their asset. They want to take care of their workers. Make sure that they work in a comfortable environment. Right? So besides that, lightings, okay, this what just touched just now about your lab session, the light level lux meter in terms of lightings, okay, in terms of the workstation itself, okay. So if you happen to know about standing workstation, okay, there are several research being conducted whereby they put a treadmill below a workstation of a worker, and that worker is doing their job while walking on the treadmill. It sounds a bit funny, right? But this is where it helps the workers to be much more productive. Okay? Because basically sitting is very hazardous. Duduk ni is a hazard. Means that if you sit in long duration, it will cause some risk to your back, okay, to your body, okay, to your posture. So that's why you need to stretch your back. Okay, you need to have a break between sitting durations. Okay, so that you are not exposed to risk. Okay, of having pains here and there. Right. So there are research whereby they put a treadmill below a workstation. So the workers are doing their job while walking. And what does that imply? When you are walking, basically your blood flow is much more better. When your blood flow is much more better, what happens? What happens to your body?
Lebih tenaga.
Lebih tenaga. So apa? Oxygen are being distributed to your organs, right? So kalau kurang oxygen, lack of oxygen, like let's say your calf lack of oxygen, what happens in sports? You will get cramps. Okay, orang kata hutang oxygen, you will accumulate lactic acid between your muscles, and that is where cramps happen within your calves, right? Betis. So if you are walking sambil berjalan sambil buat kerja, so somehow it refreshens your body. Oxygens are being distributed evenly according to all your organs. So this is where you could increase your productivity. We also do have sit and stand, sit stand workstation. Okay, workstation that can be adjusted. Ada sekarang dah ada banyak lah. Okay, tables that could be raised higher for standing and could be lowered for sitting. Why do we have all these? Because you want to make sure that the workers are at their best performance when they are doing their job. Okay, so these are normal occasions of works that we always see in an office, right? So we'll look into more detail after this about workstation design, about area of reach, about working envelopes, okay, about anthropometry, about design guidelines that will assist us on how to design a good workstation, okay, in a workplace so that the workers could always maximize their performance and also could minimize hazards. All right. So I think it's already 4 o'clock. I need to rush to the hospital after this around 4:30. So I think we'll stop here, okay, for today, right? And I'll be continuing the session, inshallah, okay, for the next sub-chapters of chapter 5 next week during the lecture session. Okay, any questions so far?
No,
sir.
sir.
Okay, right. So as usual, this Thursday, okay, I will be, inshallah, I'll be at the ward, okay, but always be online, okay. So this Thursday, as usual, you do your own meetings, okay. You can update the meetings in the WhatsApp, right? Some of you have already submitted your minutes of meeting, okay. I'll be sending it back to you again after this. And as usual, group leaders, please make sure that your group members, okay, are cooperating, okay, discuss and meet together on this Thursday evening for during the lab session, okay, so that you could somehow finish and complete your mini project. Okay, the submission will be somewhere end of July, okay, somewhere after, inshallah, Hari Raya, Hari Adha lah. But the specific date will be updated later. Okay, so I think that's all for today. I think most of you, okay, are here, right? Please do remind your group members, okay, that are not here to follow the recordings, okay, just to get some overview and understanding of what we have gone through during this lecture session. So if there's nothing else, I'd like to thank all of you that are here today, okay, attended this session. Okay, thank you for your time, also your attention throughout this lecture session. And let us wrap up this session by reciting Tasbih Kafarah and Suratul As. Okay, by that, I'll see you back again in the next session. Okay, wish me good health, inshallah, for my MRI. Okay, and see you guys in the next session. So thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and have a nice evening. Thank you.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam.
Stay safe, sir.
Right, stay safe.
Safe.
Semoga sihat sejahtera.
InsyaAllah, amin.
Assalamualaikum.
Jangan angkat barang berat.